everybody, this is the What's Your Story podcast with a focus on generative AI. And I welcome everybody to listen in every week as we bring amazing guests from all over the globe, including marketers, people from Google, professors, and how they're using generative AI to make your content that much better. We'll be giving you tips, advice, and how you can use AI in the classroom to make it more effective, for example. Please subscribe to our podcast. We're on YouTube, and also follow us on Spotify and iTunes, and make sure you download and listen to all those podcasts out there. Okay. Anyway, this is the What's Your Story podcast, and we're bringing it to you live here every week. Have a great day. Welcome back to the What's Your Story podcast. This is Ron Caughlin, your host to the podcast in our fourth season. We're talking about, of all things, which everybody's interested in, is generative AI. And, for this week, we have a very inspiring guest. It's someone I've worked with in the past. His name is Russel Ward, and he's actually an AI expert and an expert in chatbots, of all things. So he's with Massively. And so welcome, Russ. Welcome to the What's Your Story podcast.
Thanks, Ron. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to talk today.
Yeah, so Russ, your career has spanned a number of years, and we touched base when I was at a place called Dairy Queen, of all things. I think it was with the agency, and then I went to work there full time.
That's right.
And, you've moved on since then and really done some really interesting things. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and how you got this Massively started and what it's all about?
Sure. Yeah. So, I'll give you the kind of the quick version, but I am a kind of a marketer by trade. Again, that's how we work together. When we originally kind of, started Massively, was designed to be a bit of a storytelling platform where people could, have conversations with, characters from TV shows and movies and books. And that's, what we set out to build. But because of my background, I realized, relatively early in that journey that talking to characters was not that different than talking to brands. And so we kind of quickly made that pivot. And we found ourselves, 11 and a half years ago in kind of a rapidly evolving chatbot space. We built a chatbot platform without even really, setting out to build a chatbot platform. But that's what we did.
Very cool. So how does it work? Like, this is AI, but it's evolved significantly in the last 3 years. But how does this thing work? People go on the site and you can actually talk to them, and it actually feels like it's real. So how does this work?
Sure. Yeah. So, again, as you mentioned, the technology is evolved rapidly, and everybody, kind of now understands, kind of the power of, generative AI in the context of having a conversation with, ChatGPT or any number of other, kind of conversational interfaces. For us, the journey kind of started in a very early, definition of what AI was, and that was natural language understanding. We really kind of started with that and our ability to understand what people were trying to say, and interpreting that and matching it with kind of the best possible answer. So we weren't generating anything. We were just kind of understanding, trying to understand language, and then trying to kind of match based on probabilities and whatnot, the best possible answers for that. And it's obviously evolved in different ways. We added, kind of some classification and some different intent categorization to it. And again, the AI, once it's kind of developed, it kind of doesn't become AI anymore. It's just normal kind of computing stuff. Whereas, early days, understanding language seemed, really, really kind of innovative. Now it's, it's table stakes in the space. And, as the technology has evolved, the ability to, take large amounts of data kind of ingest that, retrieve it, in real time when somebody asks a question, and generate a response based on that information is, kind of happens in, the blink of an eye. And from a development standpoint, we're kind of now in a position where, these large language models and the access that these larger AI first companies are providing allow us to just tap into world class, models, or world class large language models. The foundation of what we do now has evolved from us developing the AI to us kind of layering on top of all this very powerful AI, and differentiating kind of our solution kind of as an app layer on top of that AI.
And so you guys would work with mid-size and larger companies, even small companies, to put this chatbot on their websites.
Yep, that's right. And again, it's on their websites. It's omni-channel, meaning that we're not exclusively on websites. We can deploy our solutions on social channels and messaging channels, on SMS. Kind of essentially anywhere conversations happen is what we're doing, and that's kind of the marketing spin, if you will, in terms of what we do is we position ourselves as a conversational marketing solution as opposed to a pure kind of chatbot solution. The differentiator being, we're not just about answering questions, and again, a lot of innovation happens in that space, and that's really important. And chatbots are at the forefront of search now, and all kinds of different use cases. And so for us, we're really trying to kind of position ourselves as a chatbot for marketers, and that being we're really trying to not just answer questions, but drive the user, the customer, to a desired marketing outcome, be that sales, bookings, signups, whatever it is. Not just, hey, here's your answer, can I help you in any other way. It's, hey, here's your answer, and would you like to book now? Or here's your answer, here's a recommended solution, do you want to buy it now? That's the approach we take.
I use these quite a bit with developing websites or whatever we're doing. One of the platforms you use is Wix and Wix Studio. They have their own helpline and help chatbot. And sometimes I say, can I just talk to a real person?
Of course. Yeah, no,
and it's like, no, can we give you another try, please?
Yeah.
And so that's the frustrating part from a user perspective.
It's interesting because there was an early kind of point in our evolution where we had an opportunity to move exclusively into kind of a customer service context, and bots for customer service, again, now they're way better, but 11 years ago, 10 years ago, were a very frustrating experience when people just wanted to talk to a person, and that's why we kind of made a bit of a different pivot. All that being said, there's a best practice for almost anybody in this space to have a human in the loop, have somebody available, because it especially in a customer service use case where the problem is more complex or the customer is frustrated, you want to make sure that you're kind of delivering an opportunity to, at least to get out of the bot experience, to say, no, I want to talk to a person. In some cases, for small businesses specifically, which is a place we both play in, a real person isn't available all the time. And so, setting the expectation in that conversation is really important, right? So the customer doesn't kind of leave feeling like they're frustrated, or they were kind of given the runaround by the bot or whatever it was. And you can say, listen, we'll get back to you within 2 hours, or we'll get back to you within an hour, or whatever that kind of threshold is that the small business can meet. Because if you're a customer, Ron, like as you mentioned, you don't want that frustration. You don't want to be stuck with a bot that can't answer a question, or you don't want to be stuck with kind of a never-ending, we're never going to get back to you. We'll have to call this number, wait on hold, whatever it is. You just have to manage that expectation. That's a big change in terms of what customers expect now. They don't when they want to reach out to a business, waiting on hold, waiting for a response, all of those things will impact their decisions and their satisfaction. They'll choose to go somewhere else, choose a competitor who, can provide an answer right away. Or, again, ultimately their CSAT scores or whatever will be impacted if you are either frustrating them with a bad bot experience or not providing a human.
Yeah, you mentioned this can also work with things like Instagram or Messenger.
That's right.
And so, already I think Meta has a way to do that, but it's very basic. So how does this enhance it or make it better or make it a better experience?
Yeah, well, again, I mean, it's really about, meeting customers where they are, right? And that's they spend a lot of time, specifically younger audiences, younger customers are on social. And, you can automate responses on Instagram, social media across the board. But the conversational aspect of it, the ability for the business to respond right away, again, offer personalized and customized solutions for that customer, are all enhanced when you kind of train a specific bot on that use case and deploy it with that in mind. So you're not just answering questions, what are your hours, what's your return policy, those are, again, table stakes. Everybody can do that. Meta can do that, and any business has access to that on social. But if you are, hey, here's some products that may satisfy you, or maybe what you're looking for, or hey, here's some open booking slots, or would you like a quote on that, or whatever it is, that next step where you're kind of inferring what the intent is of that question and providing the next best option. That's kind of the solution that we're trying to provide. So it's not just, as I mentioned, about answering questions. It's about kind of pushing and moving and guiding the user or the customer to a desired outcome for the marketer. And so that's, again, the difference from what we can do in our platform versus kind of a more I wouldn't say cookie cutter, but a more kind of out of the box solution that comes with other solutions.
It's really crazy. I mean, when you used to be in the Teletoon world, you've always been this kind of innovator, someone who is thinking outside of the box, and you have a real passion for it. So what kind of where does that come from, this new thinking, and where does this all stem from?
That's an interesting question. I guess, for me, there's a couple of things. One is, and again, I think we're all trained this way as marketers, is you kind of start with the problem, right? And thinking about not the technology, but what's the problem you're trying to solve. I've always been kind of attracted to the solutions and finding solutions for that, and those can be kind of technical innovations, or just different ways of thinking about how to solve the problem, a different business model, a different way to reach the customer, a different whatever it is, a different way to engage, all of those kind of things, which really have some cases have technology kind of at the foundation or at the background of them, but it's really about how you're using that technology to solve a problem, and that's kind of where I think I get that passion comes from. Is I just like trying to solve problems. Technology like AI and chatbots and some of the things that are now happening in generative AI and agentic AI, which is kind of the next thing. Those are now kind of solutions to problems. They're not kind of just tools for the sake of tools or technology for the sake of technology. They're how do you apply this to solving real problems? And that's kind of where I just always kind of gravitate and focus, and where my interest lies.
So you talked a little bit about generative AI there, and the next thing. So how is this generative AI really changing many organizations and how they work? And how do you see it impacting companies today?
Well, again, I think there's a couple of use cases that are winning here. I think, co-pilots are a big thing now. So, where generative AI is helping humans do their job more efficiently, either in kind of working with them or in kind of taking part of that work and, creating shortcuts or creating kind of more efficient ways to kind of kickstart projects or to eliminate some steps in the process. So that's kind of the way where it's happening now. I think the next evolution, or what we're beginning to start to see now, are more autonomous, where there's not even a human in the loop, but they're just kind of they're tasks that are being completed on their own, and given kind of an objective and set to figure out the best possible way to get to that objective. Those types of things are beginning to kind of we're getting lots of requests for agentic AI, and how we interpret that at this early stage is more of a starting small with a kind of a small workflow or a small task that can be completed. We don't see where we are right now as a good time to unleash AI on its own without some monitoring, without some human intervention that either keeps it on the rails or that kind of validates the results that it's getting. All of those things are still really, really important. I know a lot of companies are experimenting in that space, and I think that's kind of where we're headed.
Now, you mentioned this term agentic AI. So what is agentic AI?
Yeah,
maybe you could explain it to our guests.
Sure.
Today.
Again, I mean, I think that the without kind of getting into a I guess a philosophical or semantic debate, because I think the definition is still being kind of debated and defined, but ultimately it's they're autonomous workers that these agents will have complete autonomy to complete tasks, to complete workflows, to do research, to do shopping for you. Again, co-pilots are working alongside of a human worker. AI agents are working kind of almost in an autonomous way without a human in the loop, without a human kind of to guide or to help or to support. They're performing those tasks autonomously, and they're learning how to do that on their own.
That's very fascinating. So I guess if you're a marketer and you're trying to understand your customers better, and you are also developing campaigns to reach out to create leads and other things, this could be an assistant, someone you wouldn't have to hire, which is concerning some people. So how do you see this affecting hiring people in the workplace?
Yeah, no, I think that's a big issue and a massive consideration for in businesses and kind of economies in general. You've seen companies who are now eliminating jobs, or at least saying we're not hiring people if AI can do the job. And there's some pretty high profile cases. Duolingo is one, Shopify here in Canada is another, where they're like, you need, if you're going to make a business case for hiring a person, you have to first prove that AI can't do the job. We're going to start to eliminate, and again, starting on in the developer space, but on the marketer side, it's not likely to be far behind, where it's, if AI can do the job, why would we hire a person? I think that's problematic for a lot of reasons. It's, I think that there's a fundamental kind of challenge, because it's going to be those lower level jobs, the entry level jobs, that are going to get eliminated first. And therefore you're going to miss the opportunity to train higher level thinking and to have people kind of graduate through the profession by learning the basics, by learning, kind of through doing. And I think there's a fundamental problem with that for all of us. not just in the marketing space. Obviously there's if there are less jobs, that's a problem. That's problematic. There are people who will argue that it frees us up to do higher level stuff, and that may be true. But I worry that it's maybe not a linear kind of swap, or it's going to take a while to kind of transition to that different work or higher level work that kind of AI theoretically can enable us to do.
Well, maybe Keith Pelly from the Leafs, Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, can use this now to replace his president. Brendan Shanahan left the Leafs the other day, so who knows? But
maybe make different decisions anyway. I don't know if better or just different.
That's right. Now, you're thinking about marketing. One of the things that's really important is analyzing data so that you can customize, personalize your campaigns today in the digital world. And so, how does AI do that? How does it, has a vast ability to do this effectively? And how do you see brands using this to better understand their customers and then customizing campaigns to reach those customers?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, again, there's a few ways. Obviously, one of the things that AI does really well is summarize vast amounts of data. So, surfacing those insights that you are gathering from either your proprietary research or competitive research or third party kind of sources or whatever it is, to be able to kind of summarize all of that, pull out the relevant insights, and kind of manage that whole kind of process on your own. I think AI also gives you an opportunity, and we've done this. We had a product called Chris Research, which was a virtual moderator, which allowed us to talk to customers or potential customers about research topics. Right, we would present them with ideas, we would get their feedback in real time, and we could have that kind of nuanced conversation that certain types of research, qualitative research allowed you to do, but at quantitative scale, because you're a bot talking to thousands of people at once versus a moderator in a focus group talking to 8 people, and then taking all those insights and summarizing them, preparing a report, and 4 weeks or 8 weeks later you get kind of some insights that may be able to kind of fuel your next campaign or your positioning or whatever it is. You could do that in real time overnight, where you're again getting those, not just the what customers are saying, but why they're saying it, the flavor for what it is. So AI was able to kind of do that and kind of reshape how research was gathered and presented. So I think those are cases now that where it's being used. Obviously, in the agentic world, where you have researcher agents who are, again, employees that are working to go out there and, kind of talk to customers or gather insights or whatever it is on their own, as part of your organization, as a worker within your organization, that, it is theoretically something that people are, that can happen now and people are likely already working on.
Yeah, it's crazy times right now, Now, in terms of ethics, what do you see any ethical concerns or considerations that we should be aware of?
Yeah, well, again, I mean, I think there's a whole bunch, and most of them are relatively kind of well understood in terms of the risks and the ethical considerations. I think for me, the immediate one is jobs, and I am concerned. I have young kids who theoretically are going to be impacted, first by this, where their jobs will either be eliminated or restructured, and what happens to them. I think obviously in the models themselves, there's biases that are kind of there. There's hallucinations that happen. So those are all kind of considerations on how you want to kind of trust the AI. I think again, there's the risk of kind of bad players that are using AI to do kind of nefarious things. So there's deep fakes, all of that stuff is it's I think pretty well understood in terms of the risks there. Our ability to control it though is we don't really have a good handle on how we're going to do that. And so I think to your point about that kind of ethical consideration, I think we all have to kind of seriously kind of understand what those risks are and try to at least mitigate them, understand them, put kind of controls or safeguards in place for the potential impact in our real lives.
Massively, obviously, you have a bunch of employees, and you're leading in terms of chat bots and everything else. But what other kind of AI tools or generative AI tools are you using in your business today?
Yeah. So again, our developers use kind of a lot of co-pilots and different tools that help them either debug or write code or get code to kind of 60-80% of where it needs to be. Do code reviews, like all kinds of different things on that side. From a marketing and or business development standpoint, we use it to help build different campaigns, help us write content, help us create videos, so like all kinds of different things that we're using. To your point, we use it for research. Primarily for us at this point, it's competitive research and understanding kind of what our competitors are doing, and using it to establish that point of differentiator for us. So we're trying to really understand and be at the kind of the forefront for what we're delivering, to make sure it's relevant, but we also want to kind of differentiate from our core competitors. So we're all constantly monitoring them, and AI helps us do that. So we're using it in a lot of different aspects of our business.
Very cool. So if you were you could see the future, and let's say you could predict 5 years from now, what do you think the world will look like in terms of AI and generative AI and how we do our tasks, our daily tasks, our work tasks, everything else going forward?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I think, just like the other kind of technological innovations that we've experienced in our lifetime, the smartphone, the internet, like all of those things, they change the way we do almost everything. They change the way how we interact with each other, how we do our jobs, types of jobs that need to get done. The way that AI is going to impact all of those things, we're at the really early stages of that. So, again, I can't predict exactly how this stuff is going to work. I suspect that, this agentic AI, this autonomous worker, not trend, but the evolution is going to have a significant impact. And, we will be working with, kind of AI as coworkers, and, finding that, are we the ones who are controlling the AI, and that's our job in 5 years, maybe, or we're working kind of collaboratively with these agents. I think there's likely going to be roles kind of both in terms of controlling and managing them, and roles working alongside of them. And I think there's going to be a world with just thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of these AI agents kind of working 24 hours nonstop, no break, no kind of sick days, no time off, no coffee breaks, just working nonstop to perform. And so the amount of work that's gonna shift because of these, I think, is pretty significant.
Very cool, very cool. Listen, this part of the podcast, we usually do a couple of rapid fire questions. And all I want you to do is use 1 or 2 words or 3 words or a quick sentence to answer these questions.
All right, I'll try.
All right, you ready? First question. Which platform do you feel is the most innovative in terms of generative AI?
Ooh, listen, they all do something. They're all really good at what they do. They do different things uh, better than one. We typically, OpenAI's models, because they were the first most accessible ones, I'm going to have to say, that they are the leaders, or the ones that we like to kind of lean on. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're the best at everything.
All right. Gemini, which is Google's AI platform, it's the new leader in generative AI. What do you think?
Yeah, well, again, I mean, Google is, they've got a lot at stake here, right? And they have a legacy business that they're protecting on the search side. So I think, for them, balancing how kind of search is going to be impacted with the kind of the innovation that they're rolling out on, kind of the generative side, is going to lead to kind of a unique approach to it. They don't have, kind of free, kind of, a blank slate in terms of how they approach things. So I think, they're going to have to be innovative in how they, roll out their tools and the types of kind of customer facing models and applications that they present. So yeah, I think that doesn't surprise me. They also, have been doing this for a lot of years and have access to a lot of information, a lot of data.
One last quick question. Apple, they have integrated AI into their devices, like their iPhone 16 or even their platform on iPhone 15 or whatever. How do you feel that helps someone's life, daily life?
Yeah, again, I mean, I think Apple's kind of, the one company that's a little bit late here, and their impact and the impact on, the device space is yet to be seen. I think, again, OpenAI just bought a device company with ex-Apple employees. They expect to launch a kind of a product next, in 2026. So, again, Apple, I know you're looking for two-word answers here. This is a long one.
Very hard.
But yeah, I think, Apple, if I had to kind of describe their the AI applications that they're rolling out are kind of, late to the party, and they're still kind of trying to figure out where it fits for them.
Very cool. Well, listen, Russ, it's been a really interesting platform. You heard it all here, everybody. Augmented AI, or what do you call it? How do you say that again?
Agentic.
Agentic. I don't even know it right. I have to learn about this. Agentic AI is you're talking to him here. He's got the new word on it and what's happening out there. So thank you, Russ. Russ is from Massively, an expert in chatbots and real life chatbots. It's unreal. I tell you something. So Russ, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you if they want to learn more about your company and about your chatbots and everything else you're doing?
Sure. Yeah. So again, I'm LinkedIn. So, Russ Ward at LinkedIn. You can drop me an email, russ@massively.ai, or, just hit our website, massively.ai. Setting up accounts free. So we have a SaaS tool that anybody can use to build and deploy their own chatbot on their website, on social channels. Whatever it is, the live chat and scripted bots are free. So, that's a great way for people who are just interested in, adding conversations to their web experiences to start and, potentially grow and evolve from there.
I think I'm going to add this to Brandon's website.
Great.
See how
Looking
it goes.
Looking forward to it.
All right. So everybody, this is the What's Your Story podcast in its fourth season. This is episode 7, if you can believe it. And if you have a chance, please like and share this podcast, subscribe to it on YouTube, and follow us on Spotify and iTunes. And once again, I'm Ron Caughlin, your host, and we look forward to chatting every week and some really interesting guests, just like Russ Ward here from Massively. So thanks again, Russ, for joining us today, and we hope to be talking to you soon.
Thanks, Ron. That was great. I appreciate it.